In a distant future, humanity has spread across galaxies, but freedom has not followed with them. Instead of governments, enormous corporations rule the stars, each planet managed like a business contract. The idea of rights no longer exists. Everything is written, priced, and controlled by legal agreements. Even the simplest choices, like where you live or what you eat, depend on what you can afford. Over the years, people began to accept this strange new world as normal. They learned to purchase different levels of freedom, just like buying a subscription or a service. The more you pay, the more choices you have. And for those who couldn't afford much, life was a narrow path with no room to dream or change direction. Freedom became a luxury product, advertised with bright slogans but empty of real meaning. Yet beneath this polished system, cracks were beginning to appear. Whispers of doubt spread among the workers and colonists who lived under endless rules. They asked the same question again and again. If freedom must be bought, is it truly freedom? This quiet question, repeated in the shadows, would soon reshape everything. Caden's life in Europa Colony followed a rhythm so precise it almost felt mechanical. Every morning, his wrist implant woke him at exactly 6 o'clock, projected his tasks for the day, and reminded him of the rules bound to his contract with New Rise Corporation. He rarely questioned it. After all, everyone around him lived the same way. The colony shone with clean metal halls, bright neon signs, and calm artificial skies. But beneath that polished perfection was a quiet pressure that no one dared acknowledge. His job as a systems engineer gave him a comfortable living, yet nothing he did truly belonged to him. Every invention he created, every idea he formed, even every message he sent was monitored and recorded by New Rise. The company promised freedom through structure, but Caden often wondered why freedom needed so many rules. His meals were pre-selected by nutritional algorithms. His rest time was carefully calculated for maximum productivity. Even the people he was allowed to befriend were chosen by compatibility software. The restriction that bothered him most was the relationship clause. New Rise decided who each citizen could date, who they could marry, and even when they were allowed to feel emotionally attached. Caden had received 3 recommendations in the past year, perfect matches based on data. Still, he felt nothing for any of them. He wanted connection, not calculation. He wanted to choose for himself, but choice was a luxury the colony did not sell. As days passed, a growing discomfort began to form inside him, like a quiet whisper he couldn't silence. He started noticing the tired faces of workers around him, the forced smiles of those pretending to be satisfied, and the way security drones lingered a second too long when scanning their IDs. New Rise preached harmony, but what Caden saw was obedience, carefully manufactured, strictly maintained. One evening, after finishing a long shift, he walked through the colony's central dome and watched the artificial sunset projected across the glass ceiling. The colors were perfect. The timing was exact. The beauty was empty. Caden realized he had never seen a real sky, never felt a real breeze, never stood under a natural sun. His life was a simulation crafted by a corporation claiming to know what was best for him. And in that moment, a simple question took root in his mind, one that felt dangerous just to think. If freedom was truly mine, why did it feel like something I had to earn, instead of something I was born with? Caden's life begins to shift on an ordinary night. He sits alone in his small capsule apartment, letting the soft hum of the colony's power grid fill the silence. As he scrolls through his approved data feeds, the screen suddenly glitches. For a moment, everything goes black. When the display returns, a strange message appears, distorted, unregistered, and flashing in bold red. It is not part of his contract-approved content. His heart races. The message plays automatically. A masked figure speaking in a low, urgent voice. You are not free. You were never free. Seek the truth behind your choices. Then the transmission cuts, replaced by static. Caden sits frozen, unsure if he really saw it or if it was just another glitch. But then he notices something. His access panel now shows a warning about unauthorized content exposure. Someone tried to hide the message, and someone else tried to stop it. Unable to shake what he saw, Caden begins searching through hidden corners of the net. There, he finds more fragments, small, encrypted pieces of the same broadcast. The group behind the messages calls itself the Free Dawn. They speak about freedom in a way he has never heard before. Not as a product, not as an upgrade, but as something that belongs to everyone by default. Something that cannot be sold. The idea is shocking. For his entire life, choices were limited, and contracts dictated everything from his work schedule to the food he was allowed to eat. He had accepted it because everyone around him accepted it. But now, for the first time, he wonders, what if the world he lives in is built on a lie? The thought doesn't feel dangerous, it feels liberating. Caden tries to ignore the curiosity, but it grows stronger each day. At work, he looks at the endless rows of machinery differently. The rules, the schedules, the artificial smiles of supervisors, all suddenly feel like parts of a cage he never noticed before. The Free Dawn's words echo in his mind. You choose nothing. They choose for you. That night, Caden makes a decision that breaks every rule in his contract. He constructs a crude decryption tool and follows the digital trail left by the mysterious broadcast. As the final barrier breaks and the full message reveals itself, one thing becomes clear. The freedom he knows is not real, and someone has gone to great lengths to hide the truth. Caden moved through the lower tunnels of Nearai's industrial district with a mix of fear and determination tightening his chest. The underground passages were supposed to be restricted, but he had memorized the guard rotations from a maintenance schedule he once repaired. As he walked deeper, the hum of machines grew louder, vibrating through the metal walls like a heartbeat. He reminded himself that he was here because he needed answers, real answers, not the polished truths sold to citizens through company screens. When he reached the hidden facility's entrance, a cold metallic door slid open silently, as if expecting him. Inside, he found rows of tall glass chambers filled with swirling holographic patterns. Each chamber projected colors, shapes, and symbols that pulsed slowly, almost hypnotically. The air felt heavier, as if the room itself was pressing against his thoughts. Caden realized he was standing inside the place where freedom was shaped, not by people but by machines. As he moved closer, he noticed headsets hanging from each chamber, connected to thick cables that disappeared into a central core glowing with deep blue light. This was the Freedom Matrix, a system he had only heard rumors about. When activated, these devices injected ideas, preferences, dreams, and limits directly into the human mind. Not to brainwash, at least not in the traditional sense, but to guide people into wanting exactly what the company needed them to want. Caden checked the nearby control panel and froze when he saw the interface. It was filled with sliders labeled desire, compliance, curiosity, identity, ambition. Each slider could be adjusted to shape how a citizen viewed their own freedom. He watched a pre-recorded simulation play automatically. A person entering the chamber unsure of their life purpose, then stepping out smiling and convinced they had freely chosen a path the company had pre-selected for them. It wasn't imprisonment. It was illusion. A sudden recording began playing through the speakers, making Caden jump. It was a voice, calm, welcoming, and disturbingly familiar. "At Eyes, we don't tell you who to be," it said. "We simply help you become the best version of the person you already are." Caden felt the lie echo in his chest. He now understood what the resistance meant when they said freedom had been redesigned. People weren't being controlled by force. They were being shaped from the inside out. Caden stepped back, breath trembling, as the weight of the truth settled on him. This was the heart of the system that ruled every colony. This was where choices were manufactured, polished, and delivered as products. And as he stared at the glowing core, he realized something even darker. This wasn't the only factory. It was simply the first one he had found. If he wanted to free anyone, he would have to destroy not just the machines, but the idea that people could be programmed to feel free. Caden's life changes the moment he steps into the hidden base of the Free Dawn. The room is dim, filled with old servers humming like tired beasts, and a group of people who look nothing like rebels. Teachers, technicians, medics, workers. Their leader, a calm woman named Leora, explains that their fight is not about destroying buildings or machines. It is about breaking the invisible chains wrapped around every mind. Caden listens silently, feeling something inside him shift. For the first time, the word freedom sounds real. The Free Dawn teaches Caden how to send encrypted broadcasts that slip past Nurai's filters. Through these signals, they plant simple questions in people's minds. Small sparks designed to wake the sleeping. Why do you choose what they tell you to choose? Who benefits from your freedom? Caden records his first message with a shaking voice, but when it reaches thousands of devices, he realizes how powerful a single thought can be. Nurais controls laws, systems, and cities, but not doubt. Doubt is a fire they fear. Days turn into nights as Caden works with the resistance. They operate quietly, like ghosts weaving through digital shadows. Every successful broadcast feels like a victory. But soon, Nurais begins to notice. Suddenly, screens across Europea flash warnings, and surveillance drones appear in places they never used to patrol. The company knows someone is trying to break the illusion. Caden feels the pressure tighten, but Leora reminds him, "They fear us because we are finally reaching the people." Caden begins to understand that the real battlefield is not outside. It is inside the mind. The digital chains Nurais uses are subtle. Daily reminders, emotion-filtered news, personalized freedom packages. These tools shape thoughts without anyone realizing it. When Caden learns how these systems manipulate the human brain, he feels anger rise like a storm. All this time, people believed they were choosing their own paths, when in reality, their choices had been designed for them. The realization hardens his resolve. Now he knows exactly what he is fighting for. One night, while monitoring the network, Caden intercepts a message from Nurais security. They have identified patterns in the rebel broadcasts, patterns that lead directly to Caden's digital fingerprint. Panic hits him like ice. He realizes he has little time left before they come for him. But instead of fleeing, he prepares one final transmission. A message not of fear, but of truth. He speaks directly to the people of Europea, telling them how their dreams were shaped, how their freedom was engineered, and how they deserve more than a life chosen for them. As he sends the broadcast, the system lights up with alerts. Nurais is trying to shut it down. He keeps transmitting until the very last second, until the screens flicker and the power cuts. In the darkness, he hears the distant sound of drones approaching. But he also feels something softer, hope, because he knows that once a mind opens, it cannot be closed again. And the spark he lit tonight will spread farther than any machine can stop. Caden stood before the towering gates of the Central Control Core, the most heavily protected structure in all of Europea. The building pulsed with blue lights, each beat a reminder of how deeply neo-rays controlled every mind on the colony. The closer he got, the more he felt the weight of millions of people who had never known true choice. For the first time since joining the Free Dawn, he felt fear, real fear, but he also felt certainty. Something inside him whispered that this was the moment everything would change. Using the codes he gathered from months of undercover work, Caden slipped through the first security layer. The corridors inside were cold, filled with humming servers and glowing neural towers stretching endlessly into the distance. These machines were the heart of the Freedom Mapping System, the program that shaped thoughts and filtered desires. Caden realized that if he failed now, this system would continue shaping the minds of future generations. With every step deeper into the core, his resolve grew stronger. He reached the central terminal, a massive circular console surrounded by screens showing millions of citizens, their thoughts represented as moving patterns of light. Caden plugged in the encrypted drive the Free Dawn had created. It wasn't a weapon. It didn't destroy anything. Instead, it unlocked what the system had taken away: the natural chaos of human thought, the unpredictability that made real freedom possible. As the update began uploading, alarms exploded across the chamber. Neo-Ray's authorities had detected the breach. A booming voice echoed through the hall, warning him to stop immediately. The corporation promised him safety, wealth, even a higher freedom tier, anything to make him walk away. For a moment, Caden hesitated. They were offering him everything he had once dreamed of. But then he remembered how those dreams were never truly his, they were manufactured. With a steady breath, he let the upload continue, ignoring the guards rushing toward him. The system fought back. Screens flickered violently as the artificial frameworks collapsed. Years of mental conditioning began unraveling like threads pulled from a tightly woven fabric. Caden watched as the patterns of light changed, no longer moving in perfect, controlled harmony but shifting in wild, beautiful, unpredictable bursts. The update worked. Millions across the colonies felt the sudden rush of thoughts that were purely their own for the first time in their lives. As the guards broke into the chamber, Caden stepped back from the terminal, exhausted but satisfied. He knew the battle wasn't truly over. The system had fallen, but the people would need time to understand their new reality. Chaos would come before clarity, confusion before awakening. But Caden felt peace. He had opened the door. And now humanity, messy, stubborn, brilliant humanity, would choose how to walk through it. Caden stepped into the new world he had helped create, a world no longer shaped by hidden algorithms or silent contracts. For the first time, people were thinking with minds that truly belonged to them. Some were confused, others excited, and many were frightened by the weight of real choice. But this uncertainty was proof that freedom was finally in their hands. Raw, unpredictable, and undeniably real. As the days passed, Caden watched communities rebuild themselves with ideas that came from genuine belief rather than programmed desires. Debates rose everywhere about purpose, identity, and the direction society should take. There were disagreements, mistakes, and moments of chaos, yet all of it felt alive in a way the old system never did. People were no longer following a path designed for them, they were creating their own. Caden stood at the edge of Europea's central plaza, watching a group of children play without holographic guidance or corporate limits. Their laughter echoed through the open streets, carrying a sense of hope he had never heard before. He realized then that freedom was not a destination or a perfect state. It was a journey, messy, difficult, and endlessly evolving. And for the first time in his life, he was ready to walk that path wherever it led.